Good evening, Prague. Good morning, Hollywood, and a good day to the rest of the world. You are listening to Creator Stories, a cinnamon show where we talk everything relating to content creators. Do you want to know what the path to fame entails? On this show, we talk success and failures, tips and tricks on becoming a star. We reminisce about the best moments in people's careers, and we unfold the deepest, darkest secrets of our guests. But mostly, we just chat for about 20 to 40 minutes. My guest today is Andy Lalwani, executive producer and host of What's Trending, a channel that has recently joined Cinnamon and has a very established audience on YouTube with over 500,000 subscribers. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for agreeing to join us. It's really great to have you on. We like to start a show with a little bit of an icebreaker, mainly to get the juices flowing and to get Peter a little less nervous. So, I've seen a recent video where you talk about celebrities and like influencers using animals as props.
Mm-hmm.
And you've mentioned Tiger King. So I wanted to ask you, did Carol Baskin do it?
Honestly, I don't know how she didn't do it. So I'm gonna say she did it. I don't know how she didn't do it.
Oh, okay. So your team Carol Baskin definitely did it. Interesting.
I think I'm team Carol Baskin did it because there's something doesn't add up. Something's a little suspicious. Amanda just disappear for no reason.
Yeah, there's something fishy.
There's something suspicious. There's something weird up there.
I can see. Well, interesting. Well, thank you very much for your honest answer. With that said, we're going to move on into the intro stage. So, if you could give us a little bit of an intro, where you come from, were you born in California? Are you from a different part of the U.S.? Can you give us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I am 25 years old. My first name is Andy, the biggest white boy name possible, and I have the most Indian last name. I don't know why, but I was born outside of Washington, D.C., and I grew up just in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania, not really resourced and such. But how I stumbled upon, I guess, video and more the internet and internet culture. I was 16 and I was like, what is gay? How do you catch the gay? Is it contagious? I thought I had disease when I was learning about myself. So I Googled, what is gay? Is it contagious? And it came across on YouTube. And I found these people online on YouTube telling me their stories and more. And I was like, oh, I'm not dying, but also who are these people? So it's just so interesting how the arc of my entire, I guess, life, being gay has turned into a career, helped me learn about specific avenues I didn't even think.
Oh, interesting. So would you say that your sexual orientation kind of helped you develop a career as a content creator? That's something. Yeah,
110%. 100. That's also how I've met some of my closest friends and people online and more. It's such a small world too, of the gay LGBTQ plus community online and what it entails.
That's really interesting. Because I noticed that besides What's Trending, you actually have your own channel on YouTube, which I don't know how often you use it. I think you haven't published anything for about a year. Is that true?
It's interesting when you're doing. Okay, so I started that channel, my own channel. I started when I came to college. I was I want experience. I want to do something, do some fun shit. Here we are, and I had just published consistently in college and dropped out. Of making videos every so often, but for those people who do make videos in college, it's not just something to you jump into YouTube and it's I'm going to gain some following overnight. I'm going to gain all this opportunity. It takes time and consistency. So if you don't have those resources to start, it can be difficult. And if you're not consistent, it can be difficult. But I just did so much in college and wanted to put my hands in every pot. So it was kind of difficult to keep up with the channel. But did I think that I wanted to give up on it? No. I think it helped me find other avenues, working with What's Trending and working with other creators and more. I think it was just more so a thing to look back on. I wanted to remember college, and it wasn't I want to be a YouTuber. Here's money, fame, fortune. It was I just want to remember college, and that's it.
Well, it was a really fun experience for me discovering. So I discovered the channel by complete random. Obviously, with every guest that we get on the show, I do a little bit of digging. It's the stalker in me. I can't help it. But I do have to say I did really enjoy it. It seemed compared to What's Trending, which I'd like to talk about more in this show. But since we're on the channel, I've really found it was a much deeper connection with you as a content creator from a viewer's perspective. And I did notice that you've branded you a little bit more on it, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed that. You know,
Thanks.
if you're ever thinking of, you know, reintroducing yourself to a channel, I definitely, it was
It
really good.
I think it's just balancing act of like, okay, I think I'd like to, in some point, reintroduce that back to the world. I think it's just like money, time equals channel.
Mm.
So now when like I have a more stable life, which is like about to happen, hopefully 2021. But when I was in college, I was like, I'm broke as hell. Like, I don't have money. I'm like, I gotta go work. And I did. And I worked for other creators and other management companies and helped other creators where they were owning their own stuff.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, that'd be cool to like do, but I learned so much to apply to my own stuff and other properties I work with. So
Yeah.
I think now coming back into it, I could make it happen.
That, yeah, I'm sure you can. And since we're talking about new YouTube careers and stuff, the question I want to ask you is about not even becoming a content creator, but more like how did you end up with what's trending? Because I noticed on your LinkedIn you have like an incredible resume. I mean, if anyone wants to look you up, they should definitely do. You've done a lot of stuff, and I want to know, how did you transition into what's trending as a
Uh,
channel?
so I knew about what's trending when I was like, I think in college, watching the channel and knowing about like news and digital creators and more. I'm 25. Again, just to preface that, like when I get on calls with people who are like, this is Jim from K Rock 5, I'm like, hi, I'm 25. I'm the youngest on the I'm always the youngest on the phone call. I don't care what room it is. I'm always the youngest. And everyone's like, you're doing so much. I'm like, really? I don't know. I feel like I'm just here. But I started, making my YouTube route with digital and found other channels like I kept up with and like news and other spaces. But I had met Shira, who started the channel in 2011. She started the entire kind of digital culture news division for a lot of companies. Like, not a lot of people were focusing on, you know, digital culture of viral videos more and people who are everyday creators. Like, it can be someone who has a big name or a small name, but I met her through some events and she was like, if you ever just want to do something. And I started hosting for What's Trending, started hosting for like other opportunities. And one day she called me and she's like, so one of my producers is leaving. Would you like to just come and like work What's Trending? And I was like, yeah, like I need some cash. I was like, I'm poor. But also like I saw the potential for the company and I was like, okay, I know at least in this day and age what it needs to be done to revamp into current culture, current media tactics. And felt like times when a lot of creators or companies are more like don't inept or don't, I guess, like catch on and become inept to a lot of social kind of, media tactics. They fall behind really fast. Like media changes so fast and dynamically that you're like, you can be left in the dust if you send, 6 months away or more. There's new things like Twitter just unveiled fleets yesterday and people are like, what's a fleet? And you're like, oh, it's basically like a story. But as new, obviously, like products come out, you have to learn how to adapt. And if you're not adapting, that product is eventually going to die or you're eventually going to
Yeah.
die. Sad to say.
Well, yeah. So, first of all, I wanted to say, like, even on this call, you're the youngest one. So, congratulations on maintaining your your status as the youngkin on the blog. Second of all, I actually really like that, the fast and dynamic. A lot of people listening to the show, you out there are going to be content creators in the making. So, people who are really at the start of their careers, and I like the idea of, be fast and be dynamic. That's something I will definitely take away from this call. I always think about the fact that I would like to become a content creator myself. Like, what would it be like for my family, and like how would they take it? And I wanted to know, like, what was like for you're very young compared to like me, because you're only 25, you're a quarter of a century. You're like, you've just reached the moment when people start counting their age. And I want to know, what was it like from your family and your family, like everyone else? Like, did you get a lot of support, or was it more like you need to get this kind of job and this kind of setup?
Oh my God. Wow. That's, yeah. So there's two aspects. My parents divorced when I was very young and they went their separate ways. So what my one parent understands is different from what the other parent understands or what, my siblings understand. The younger, people in my family, they're like, "Oh, I get it. I understand it. Cool. I don't understand how you make money on that or like how you monetize on like opportunities." My mom, I remember when I started making videos, she's like, "Oh, we should do this together. We should do that." I'm like, Mom, I love you, but this is not yours. Like this is this is my own craft. I'm like, I enjoy hearing your like perspective and feedback. But my dad, on the other hand, was like, do you have a job? Do you have benefits? Like, how are you, how are you living? Like, how are you paying for everyday life? So he didn't really understand the concept of people making videos or selling content to providers, publishers. Like, no one understood it as much because it's still been a relatively new thing. No one says like, here's your degree, here's how you go to college, here's how you make videos online. Like, videos in the online world has been something that's really a nuance, and we're really used to like traditional media, movies, television shows, like the fact that people can make money on platforms like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and then go to other platforms and also start with places like Cinnamon and more. Like, there's so many different, I think, avenues for people to go and create content online. People don't understand, like, I guess, as much where to start or how it even starts. So my dad was just like, I don't understand this. Like, do you have a job yet? Like, is this done?
Would you say that your dad's a bit more traditional in his approach to life? It's like,
My dad's a very traditional Indian, but he sounds like a white person on the phone. He's like, we call him a coconut. In Indian world, he's brown on the outside and white on the inside. You're like, oh, you don't have an Indian accent, and he picks up the phone and he sounds like a suburban dad. It's it's very interesting, but I love him very much.
yeah, so he's like the perfect, well, he's like the perfect Indian combination of American and like sort of traditional Indian,
Oh,
would you say?
absolutely. He's like the guy working at the hotel front desk who's like, I can check into your room for you, and you're like, you're so nice, thank you.
That's wonderful. Well, shout out to dad and mom actually as well. You know, shout out
Absolutely.
to everyone. Um, since you're talking about the start of your career, I would like to ask you about your first video. Actually,
Mhm.
is that, do you remember the first public video that you've made? And you know, for the viewers out there who would like to get inspired and see what a first video looks like, is it still available to
It
watch?
is myself asking girls on my college campus questions of slang and terms that I did not know when I got to my campus. I know my first Instagram post as well, which was a jar of speared pickles. Um, I don't remember my first tweet, but like looking back on some of those things, I'm like, I do not recognize that person. I definitely remember setting up that camera that day for the YouTube video though, and being like, okay, just imagine this person is here, or like, in order to imagine that's a person as the camera, I had my friend stand behind the camera. I was like, I'm really talking to my friend Caitlin. That's it. Like, so to imagine that perspective of, getting past the wall of like you're talking to a camera, it's like I had to just imagine I was talking to a friend. And I don't recognize that person of like struggling to talk to like a camera anymore.
Mm. You must have gone a long way by then,
We
obviously.
have gone a long way. We've all had a journey.
Yeah, everyone's on a journey. Well, that being said, I mean, your channel's huge. Your Twitter's massive. You have 1 million followers on Twitter as well. So that being said, tell us about what's trending now. Like, how is it as an organization? Like, how many people do you employ? Like, how often do you produce? Can you give us a little bit of insight
Yes.
into that?
So what's trending at the beginning of this year, it was just me, like just being honest. It was just
Wow.
myself. Um, and when COVID-19 hit, a lot of people I knew were looking for experience in work, and they were like, my internship program or my opportunity for this fellowship is no longer available. Do you have any work experience I could get? I don't care if it's paid or not. Like, I need something to do at home because I don't know what to do right now. So I started a program for a lot of college students, a lot of people who just want to work experience. And I was like, look, like, this is how the company is right now, just like fair and candid. Like, I enjoy you people because I know some of you personally. I know some of you just based on other referrals, but like, I will always be 100% like candid. Like, here's how the company is right now. So we started a program with people who really were passionate about video, social, editorial, and kind of built it up from there. And it was so successful that it helped launch like new initiatives for what's trending, like to be able to work with other platforms and be able to make different types of content. But I want to say right now, to this like day, every week we make, I want to say, video pieces of content, 20 to 30 pieces of video content.
Yeah.
Um, and then editorial pieces, we're making about 30 pieces editorial or 40. So it's a lot of work and it's a lot of like communication. But I think a lot of this year, or even starting with, a team, is you need to start from the ground up and set that expectation. But you can also, if you do it right, you can work from anywhere, and you can, as I say, like, get anything done at any time. I tell people, I'm not here to point fingers like, why did this get done? I'm like, how can I support you? Were you sitting in your bed at night? Because I don't mind, because like I will do the same thing. If it's due 10 a.m. the next day, I'll sit there at 9 o'clock the night before and sit in bed and work. And you can do that too. So
Thank you. Thank you. That's really interesting. You've mentioned when you were talking, you've mentioned that like COVID hit, and I know everyone's tired of COVID, and I know everyone's tired of 2020, and trust me, dude, I'm tired of 2020. But I think it's a really important question that I have to like lead you to, and that's the challenges of COVID in 2020. Like, how did you deal with any of the challenges? And if really did it really influence your work too much? Like, did it had a lot of negative impact, or was it more positive? Like, how would you describe that to
it was
people
a bit of
listening?
both. It's a bit of both because people started to realize, okay, I need to make content at home, or like, how can I make content at home? Less money, whoever it was, wherever it was. You saw publishers shut down, you saw people folding, you saw a lot of jobs being lost. And at the end of the day, I somehow was able to work with, formats like video, where video was like, we're going to go up because everyone's consuming more content at home. I started realizing how to make this possible. And I was like, this is just like a YouTube channel. Like, I can go and shoot this from home, make a package of about news or anything else, and just send it to the masses. And it's surprisingly enough, we were able to grow and get paid opportunities for people because of some things like this, but realizing, I guess, the power of one person being able to do something from their own household, wherever it was. It has an impact. Like, I didn't think about it too much, and I was like, this is gonna be rough. I'm not sure it's gonna go, but it's been a steady increase. But it's still been difficult because when you have people who are working from home, who are not in the same area, you can get frustrated really quick sometimes. Whether it's like a text, I'm always like, let's just hop on a phone call. Whether it's this and this and that, and you have to remember, when you're working for anything, you're always on the same team as the person next to you. Like, if you're at the same place, you're always on the same team. There should not be like a disagreement, an argument. Um, but you're here to, like, I guess, in the sake of what's trending, like, spread social awareness and create an impact. And if we're not doing that, we're like, what are we doing? Like, we're just adding to noise, and then we're not bringing anything to the table. So that's kind of like our mission statement too. Like, we say at the end of the day, we represent the internet. If we're not representing the internet, what are we doing?
Understand. Speaking of what's trending, well, speaking of what's trending, so when it comes to what's trending, I obviously like watched your channel. I watched a lot of your videos and stuff. I wanted to ask you, what you personally think, in this year, or like maybe in the past few years, or what you can think of the top of your head, what is the biggest story you've done, and like, like in a while, or like what was your favorite story? Or tell us about, like, the thing that you thought, oh, this is great, I need to tell everyone about this, if there is anything.
I'm trying to think.
Sorry for
I
putting you on
definitely
the
have
spot.
heard of, like, what, say again?
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, you're good. I think there have been a couple funny stories that I've done that threw me off. And I was like, is this real? Like, whether it's, I guess, like, the one I can speak to that was a trend that I did not expect to be a trend that has still continued to keep going, is the Karen trend, I guess, of like people who are really upset with a store, an opportunity that is not in their favor.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a one-time thing. This is a joke. And now everyone's like, I know the word Karen. Like, I know what that means. I know it's not a good thing. Anyone who's a Karen is offended. And I'm like, I thought this was just a one-off. Like, this is like a 2-week run, and we're like, that was funny. No, it's like a like 5, 6, 7 month thing now.
Yeah, it's been for a while. I actually try not to use the word Karen, because I only know one Karen in my life, and believe it or not, she is the greatest person I've ever met. she she's a scientist, and she's absolutely sweet. Like, she never yells at anyone. She never
You're like,
complains
this
at
does
anyone.
not match the records I know. Like,
I
what
know, right? So when
use?
people, yeah, when people started using the Karen trend, I was like, wait, I don't get this, and I was like, oh.
Oh, that.
Oh, yeah, you had a really interesting video about a, well, let's call her Karen,
Mhm.
in a hairdresser, wasn't it? I think
That one.
that one. That was actually my first video that I saw of what's trending when you got mentioned. And I was like, that was ridiculous. But that woman in that video. So if anyone hasn't seen it, could you give us a little brief about what's going on in that video?
Yes. So there's a hairdresser, who, anyone who owns your business, like, if you are a business owner, you have a right to, I guess, like, defend your staff if something is coming up. Like, you employ them for specific reasons. Like, that is your that is your home ground, I guess.
Exactly.
If someone also has an opinion about your business, they should not come to your business. You know,
Yeah.
it's the end of the day. Obviously, like there are protections you have for any business as a customer. You have a right as a business owner. A woman came in and long story boring, there was a discrepancy that happened where the customer, in this case, was upset that the main woman who owned the store was not giving her the service and it was a Mexican assistant instead. And she was like, I'm paying you, I'm not paying her. And the store owner was very upset because that's her employee. Like she's not realizing it, but that's like a racially charged kind of
Yeah.
microaggression that she kind of threw out. And she's like, look, like I think her name was Robin. She's like, Robin, like I'm not gonna give you this service if you won't let my assistant finish. She's like, well, no, I want you to do it. And she's like, well, I'm trying to do other things. Like I have my own business. And she's like, well, you should do it then because I'm not gonna accept it from her. And the customer like tried to elbow her. And she's like, Robin, like you're done. Like you can leave if you're gonna be like that. Like that's so rude. You don't talk to me like that. You don't talk to my assistant like that. And Robin, the customer, got so upset. She's like, what am I going to do with my hair? Like, there's all this coloring in my hair. She's like, go home, go wash it out. You can go get it done somewhere else. Do not come here. Like, I'm not finishing this for you.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people were like, like, that's her own call to want to finish the service for her or not. Like,
Yeah.
she can give her that refund. But also, you're paying for a service. You're not paying for someone's instruction to
Yeah.
go by every demand you have. Like there are limitations to that service. Like you get this. These are your expectations when you get the service. This is the limitations of what the business owner can do. But if you're trying to get, something else out of it, that's not what a business runs as.
So yeah, the way I would describe the woman to all of you basement dwellers out there, she's like an internet troll without the internet. She was just being in the wrong
It
from start
was.
to finish. But yeah, that's 2020 for you. We had an ad we had an ad in Britain recently, which featured sort of this big shopping mall. Like it's a big sort of like chain, and featured a black family. And believe it or not, like people were offended by that because Britain is apparently Caucasian. So that's just 2020 for you. Which is the crazy part for things for me. That being said, speaking of trolls and stuff, you're quite out there now because you're quite famous. You have Indian heritage, you're gay and stuff like that. Do you get a lot of negativity on the internet, being in the spotlight?
There's always going to be somebody who doesn't like you. Like,
Yeah.
long story boring. Some people say like, I talk too fast. Other people are like, I feel like this guy's just used because he's brown, like whatever. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I'm like, if you don't like somebody, don't follow, don't engage. Like,
Okay.
that's it. That's the end of the story. Like, you have to remember, you're not going to fit everybody's cup of tea. Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to be to everybody's liking. Some people like one taste versus another. Like, that's fine. Like, just the fact that I'm gay and no one's met me sometimes, they're just like immediately like, no, like hard pass. I'm like, that's fine. Like, it's sad to like not be given a chance to some people, and that's how like the
Mm.
mindsets are.
Mm.
But other people, it depends. I think I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, I have my own group of friends. I have my
Yeah.
own thing. Like, I don't mind if someone doesn't like me. I got my own life.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the honest answer. That's I think that's a really healthy way of looking at it. I was just really curious, like, how does someone who's as kind of big as you kind of like live with it? And I think you have a very healthy attitude. So, if you're out there and someone's saying mean comments, well, someone's leaving mean comments on the video, well, screw them. They're not your friend.
Yeah, you're like,
Like, he's just a rando. What do you know? Um, Other than that, are there any other tips or maybe like advice you would like to give to people who are listening to the show and who are, starting as a content creator?
Yes, I think the biggest advice I could give is you have to remember what you started for. If it's for fame and fortune, money and more, it's probably not going to work out. Like, long story boring. You're not going to know what tomorrow is like versus today. But I know those people who have started for that reason, and it usually doesn't work out. If you're not having fun with it, it's probably not going to work out either. But if you're able to balance and figure out what that navigating of your own path is for creating, content, whether it's for your own good or for like to educate, like as long as you have fun in the day of it, you're probably going to succeed. Like if you stop having fun, you're probably just going to get burnout and kind of risk a lot that you have in the beginning that you didn't really think. Like you do gain a following. There's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of things where you're like, and then you signed up for this. Like you did sign up for the ride, and the ride is not always fun.
The ride is
But
not
it's
always, yeah, the ride can be a lot of unfun for a big period of the time, I'm assuming. That said, so obviously what I think about you does not really matter, but I really want to know what you think about yourself. And a very important thing for me, and especially in the show, is talking about the imposter syndrome and people succeeding and not succeeding. So do you, in your own honest opinion, do you think you are successful, or do you think that you aren't there yet? Like there's a milestone that you would like to hit, and then when you hit it you think, now I'm successful.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think everyone kind of equates numbers to success.
Mm.
And I'm kind of sad because like you see people who are 18, 19 on platforms like TikTok and more, and they're like, I have
Yeah.
5 point some million followers. And you're like, I'm 25. I don't have anywhere near that. But the things I've done are different. Everyone's path is different. Like you can't compare apples to apples. And just because like you don't have as big of a following doesn't mean like your reach is different. Like you may reach someone in different ways, or like one person can be impactful for 1 million. But I think I have made success. I think it's difficult sometimes to like remind yourself, like, oh, I'm great. It's fine. But there's definitely like the ups and downs you have. And you just got to remember at the end of the day, like, I'm in this hot seat for this reason. Like people come back to me for this reason. It's not always just like a number. When you equate somebody as a number, that one number could turn the rest of the numbers away.
Yeah. Don't look at the numbers, look at the purpose. Would that be a good sum up for someone listening?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I always like this question. It's my favorite question that I ask on the show, because you really get to like look into a person's soul and see what they think. Because this is a cinnamon show, and it's, you know, cinnamon related, I would like to ask you, now that you've seen the platform a little bit, is there anything you would like to see in the future? You know, I got the dev team on a phone, so you know, whatever you say. I can get the boys on it.
Things for the future. I'm not too sure. I do like how easy it is to access on Cinnamon. I like the dashboard of like all the different content. Um, I think the only thing I could think of is just like how to preview content. Like the shorts are really cool. Like how you're able to just give like little shorts, but to access them, I think it's a difference. If I was able to on mobile like share a part of Cinnamon easier to a friend or something of the sort, I think that'd be cool. But I don't really know. Like I think there's always like a capability of options, but there's so much room for growth in every company. And then when you're like, oh, I don't think there's any more room for growth, someone's like, here's this new product feature, and you're like, well, I didn't think of that. Like I thought that was not on my agenda of things I wanted. But when it comes, you're like, okay, now what do I do with this new thing? But I think it's a great platform for a lot of people to consume content. There's a whole array, and I think it's really great that there is more power to the creator to kind of want to upload and work with the Cinnamon team as compared to other platforms where it feels like there are a lot of hoops to jump and to, I guess, like make the content you want.
Yeah. So would that be your sort of pitch to, if you were pitching Cinnamon to a friend? Is that kind of
Absolutely.
what you said?
Yeah, that's my elevator pitch.
Awesome. That's absolutely perfect. Well, Andy, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. This was all the time we had today, unfortunately, but it was I had a great time talking to you. Thank you, first of all, for being super honest about everything. Thank you for being so straightforward and you know, down to earth. You really rarely get that these days. Is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to?
Mom. My mom. That's it. Just mom.
Well, Mom, if you're watching or listening, this is a shout out for you. Thank you very much for being supportive, and thank you very much for trying to be in his videos. Hopefully one day.
The Cinnamon team. Let us know if anything comes up. The Cinnamon team's great.
Okay.
So everyone's Cinnamon.
Thank you. You hear that, guys? You finally got a shout out. That being said, if people would like to find out more about you or learn more about you, follow you, is there any platform you prefer outside of Cinnamon?
It's just Andy Lalwani online. There's no other one. I've searched before. It's just me, which is cool. It's also weird. I'm like, thank God my name's not like David Johnson. Like, how many David Johnsons are there? Probably a million. Something.
Yeah, lucky you. That's perfect. You've combined the best of the best.
The best of the best.
That being said, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all the rest that doesn't conform to these 4 categories, thank you very much for listening to Creator Stories. My guest today was Annie Lalwani, an executive producer and host of What's Trending, a very successful channel on YouTube and a channel on Cinnamon right now. Thank you for coming back. And I guess, guys, we'll see you next time. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and, all the other social platforms you can think of. I was Peter, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.